chili for supper, so I thought I'd bring you along and show you how I make my chili. What you will need: onion, 1 to 2 pounds of ground hamburger, chili beans, 3 cans of tomato sauce, 1 can of tomato paste, sugar, cayenne pepper, oregano, chili powder, cumin, and house seasoning. So let's get started. Okay, my pot is warmed up, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my ground beef in. And just break that up. I did not put any oil or fat in the bottom of my pan because this is 80-20 meat, which is what I prefer to use for chili, and it'll give off some of its fat in just a second, and you won't need to coat the bottom of your pan. So we'll get that browning off, and while this is doing its thing, we're gonna go over here and chop up our onion. Okay, for this pot of chili, I'm gonna use the whole onion, and I'm going to dice it up my usual way. So when I have this ready to dice up, I will bring you back. Okay, you can see that I have my onion diced up, and it's a pretty big dice, and that's the way we prefer it. We like a little bit of chunky in our chili. So while you're doing this, also make sure you're watching your hamburger meat and breaking that up too. And again, you're gonna see my hamburger meat is a little more on the chunky side. We just like a really hearty chili. So when my hamburger meat is browned to the way I like it and I get it drained off, I will bring you back. Okay, the hamburger meat has been drained and it's back in the pot, so I'm gonna add the onions real quick. And get those to cooking. And while the onions are softening up a bit, I'm going to go ahead and measure out my seasonings. So let's go over there and get that done. Okay, the first thing we want to start with is a half of a teaspoon of oregano. And you'll notice some of these I'll add a little more. But I will give you the exact recipe as I'm doing this. But some of these spices I adore, so I add a little more of them. And the next thing we need is 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne. And the next thing would be 1/2 of a tablespoon of chili powder. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a whole tablespoon. I like it. I've had this recipe in my recipe book and I've made it a million times, and I know I start off with a tablespoon. I will wind up going back and adding more. Then we need 1½ teaspoons of cumin, and once again, I love cumin, so you'll see me add 2 teaspoons. I will put the exact recipe in the comments below, or in the description below. That way if you want to follow it the first time by exact, you can, and then add or subtract whatever you like to it. The next thing would be the sugar, and we need 1/2 of a teaspoon of sugar. Oops. Oh well. And those are our spices, and what I'll do is, the onion is still cooking, and once I get the onion to where I like it, I will add the spices and get those to bloom. I think you should add them before you add any of the liquids or anything. That way they can bloom and bring out their flavor more. Okay, my onions are softened, I'm gonna go ahead and add our seasonings. Mix it around. And just give those seasonings a chance to develop a little bit before we add any of the liquids or anything. I did turn my stove down a little bit because I don't want to burn the seasonings or scorch them. So go ahead and turn your stove down just a little bit. While this is developing its flavor, I'm going to go ahead and open up my cans and get the cup of water I need together. When I'm ready to add the tomatoes and the beans and the water, I'll bring it back. The first thing I'm going to start with is the tomato sauce. Then we're going to add the water. That's 1 cup of water. Go ahead and add my tomato paste. That work done. And I have not added any salt or pepper yet, or any of my seasoning salt. I really want to get everything in there, get it simmering for a little bit to see what it needs. I'll come back and taste it and see what it needs. So I've got the tomato paste in there, and I'm gonna add the beans. And to be honest with you, my son and I, we don't like the beans in it, but we put it in there because my husband does. Put any type of bean in here you want. If you want more than one type of bean, feel free to go for it. Those were just regular chili beans. So the next step on this is literally to just let it simmer. Come back, stir it. I'm gonna let it simmer for about 20 minutes before I come back and add any more seasoning if I feel like it needs it. So when I'm ready to taste it, I'll bring you back. Okay, my chili has been simmering for 20 minutes. I'm gonna spoon out to taste. Ooh, okay. That is really simmering. Calm down. Give it a stir. Give it a taste. I'm gonna put the lid back on while I'm tasting. Goodness. Okay. I know it needs seasoning salt. I'm gonna turn this down some more. Goodness. So I'm gonna add some seasoning salt. And I also think that it needs some more chili powder and cumin. So I'm gonna measure that out. Let's see, the cumin, we're probably gonna add another teaspoon. And the chili powder, I'm going to add another tablespoon. And mix that up. Let it simmer for 20 more minutes. And while this is simmering, do come back and stir it. So I'm going to get that all mixed in there, and I'm going to let it go for 20 more minutes, and then I'll come back and I will taste it again. Lid on it. Come back in 20 minutes. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and take another taste. I'm gonna stir it up. Oh, stop that. I'm gonna stir it up. Clean spoon. Okay. I definitely think more chili powder and some more seasoning salt. So let me go ahead and get that and put that in there. I'm gonna put 1 more tablespoon of chili powder. And then just eyeball the seasoning salt in there. Okay. Stir this up. And I do believe that should be my last adjustment because the cumin is right. Just need a little more chili powder. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and add a little more cayenne pepper too. I'm going to add another 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. All right. And this is honestly how my chili goes. It is trial and error, taste and adjust. I'll go back and watch this video and then get the exact measurements of everything that I put in here, and I'll put it in the description below. I'm going to put the lid back on this for 20 more minutes and I'll come back and try it. Okay, it's been another 20 minutes. So I'm going to stir this up and give it another taste. Okay, that's perfect. I'm going to turn the stove off, and when I have it in the bowl, I'll bring you back. Okay, here it is in the bowl, and the way I like to serve it is with a little sour cream and a side of cornbread. I hope you enjoy.